Rooted through left leg rises, hugging our right knee into our right lung. It's like a wind relieving pose standing up. And then peace finger grip, right hand around the right big toe. Stay very strong, very rooted through left leg as you open up. Hasta, paragustasana, hand to big toe pose. If you like to keep the left arm extended outside of your shoulder is a nice counterbalance. Otherwise, extending it high, bicep alongside ears, we transition into bow pulling pose. Bending right leg, reaching for the inseam of the right foot. As we find that connection and lean the upper body forward, still keeping our chest open, our heart open. Left arm is reaching up and away above the horizon. And change, gently release. Nice back bend and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Setting your hands and holding in your high plank. All about these holds here, just to make sure that we're really giving our attention to midline in the body, honing that heat. Dropping the elbows right below the shoulders. Here we transition into a forearm plank and hold. You can do little mini rocks, rocking the heels above the toes. Keeping gaze neutral, shoulders are open. Pressing back into hands, walking the feet forward. Lift up, open up, reach up, heart up, and change. Second side, wind relieving pose. Standing up, right leg roots. Hugging and pulling left knee into left shoulder. Shoulders are tall, right over hips. And transitioning into Hasta, paragustasana, peace finger gripping the big toe. Reaching, extending, lengthening left foot long. And right leg is strong. It's not locked, but it is strong. You have a strong, stable base. And preparing to change. Opening up now, keeping your breath smooth and steady as you transition into bow pulling pose. Trust your balance, knees in line, hips in line. So there's a relationship here between the reach, the kick, the pull, and the balance happening with the right leg. So if you nail all of that, the pose works. Most of the time we're working on finessing one of those areas, so don't worry if you fall out of the pose, if it feels different on one side of the body than the other. And we'll release, opening up, beautiful back bend. And coming right into our Malasana. Sink the hips low. Anjali Mudra. Elbows are working on driving the knees out to open up the hips. If you still have your block nearby and you'd like to set that underneath your hips here to make it a little more yin, feeling free. Otherwise, stay calm here, working with your breath just to open up hips and also strengthening ankles, the bones of our feet here. As you work on deepening this pose, you might notice you can find a little more space. Your knees might even reach up toward your triceps as you're opening here. And that strong press of your palms together to drive your knees out is what's opening up the hips here. So you can work on really keeping a strong connection there as we transition now into a gentle arm balance. We'll find a firefly. Just a really nice way to connect with our hamstrings, reaching our feet up, our hips up, working on more of the flexibility here, trying to lower the hips down to the earth. If you fall out again, it's okay. And then we'll scoot the feet together, coming into butterfly pose. Bottoms of our feet are together. And we just really want to focus on integrating and deepening the hip release that we were cultivating in Malasana. So the closer you can work your heels in toward your groin, the more opening you will find along the inseams of your legs and your inner hip crease, your hip flexors. And also for your feet, just a nice way to stretch your feet. You can reach for the bottom of your feet, pulling your toes back toward the top edge of your foot. If you can work your fingers in between the toes here. You can even flutter your knees like you're in ballet class, just opening up. And we'll transition now into a version of Marichyasana. Just a spinal twist and a release. So bending left leg, bringing left foot on the outer edge of right knee. Right arm crosses over midline of the body and twist. Just to prepare to come into our lizard pose now. So we're crouching down, our elbows are right in line with our foot, our knees right above our ankle. Your right knee can be down. You can reach for a bent right leg. Just working on really deepening that right quad, stretching and lengthening the hips, using gravity and a beautiful heart opener here. As you open your upper body, your gaze lifts. And heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, the left foot toward the right edge of the mat, sink into pigeon pose. And stay upright as long as you like here. When you're ready to fold forward, I like to take a version where I twist the upper body, bringing right arm, so opposite arm to the leg that's bent, and then reaching the other arm, the same arm as the bent leg, for the big toe of the bent leg. It's just a nice way to keep that meridian connection and also just calm with breath, staying in this pose as long as you can. It's a really great way to release any stress, any tension. A lot of times when we're working on stretching the lower body, our upper body is also active and open. So here, when it's just soft and relaxed, it's a great way to plug back into the breath, tune in to that rhythm and the release. Before we change, just coming into a nice, lovely quad stretch for the back leg, a king pigeon. So reaching for the back foot as you keep your upper body open and free like a dancer pose or a bow pulling pose. You're opening the heart, staying rooted in the lower body, and really engaging that right glute to open the right hip flexor. Someday, one day, bringing the bottom of your foot, the sole of your foot, to the crown of your head. Maybe even your ankle. And just try to stay focused on breath, staying open. When you're ready to change, release mindfully, slowly. We're coming right back into our Malasana. Sitting hips down, heart open. We want to stay with breath. We want to keep our open hips. We can twist either side. Just a nice way to neutralize the spine. A smooth, steady breath here in Malasana. Try to keep jaw soft now as we transition into compass pose. So heels will lock. It's very similar to the setup for a firefly, but instead of lengthening our arms and our legs longer, we're going to keep things knitted in. So keep that little chaturanga shelf. Our feet are locked together. And mindfully release. Set up our Marichyasana, other side. Right foot crosses over left. Left arm coming over and across our body as we twist. You can send gaze along for the ride. You can counter twist either side. Just want to keep both of your hips rooting, your shoulders right above your hips, a nice stack as we come into our lizard pose. Right leg. So coming right into the elbows, if that's accessible for you. Otherwise, you can also stay high up on the wrists. There's so many different variations for a lizard. I just like the double whammy of reaching for a bent back leg just to really work into that hip flexor all along the quadricep. And then the beautiful heart opener. Just any time that you can release the upper body, breath is automatically unleashed. It goes where it needs to go. You've trusted, you've opened. And setting up our pigeon pose, second side. And the more parallel you work your shin to the top edge of your mat, the more intense the stretch will be. Just keeping that in mind. If you're reaching for the inner foot, the inner edge of your foot that's bent, you may need to adjust, bringing your foot closer to your hip so that you can reach for your big toe. Otherwise, just releasing upper body heavy on your mat. Your left leg is long out of your hip. Everything softens, jaw softens, mind softens. You may notice a lot of emotions coming up in this pose. It's so intense. But the minute you come back to the breath, the moment you hone attention back to exactly what's going on for you in the moment, you can stay. And if you can keep doing that for many breaths in a row, you'll notice you've stayed in the pose much longer than you intended. You did not run away. And the other side, coming into our king pigeon. Just working on shoulders open. And being mindful too, this side might be different than the other. Taking your time to set up your balance. Find stillness on one side. Might stay and linger. Staying and breathing. And gently release, very mindfully. Coming down onto our backs now, a beautiful release with Supta Badakanasana. Soles of our feet together, our knees open wide. One hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Really allowing yourself in these moments of winding practice down to truly plug into your breath. It starts deep in your belly, transcending through the upper regions of your chakras into your heart, your throat, out the crown of your head. Visualization exercises may be helpful in keeping that connection with your breath. We're setting up now for a few rounds of back bending, bridge and wheel. It's lifting heart up, legs up, reach up, breathe up. I like the version where the legs are more extended. It's a really nice way to open in through the shoulders, bringing feet together, legs are lengthened. You can bring gaze toward your fingertips before tucking your chin and slowly, mindfully coming down. And again, just neutralize. One hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. Deep, deep breaths in. And for as long as you found yourself up in that wheeler bridge, you want to stay in your neutral pose for about twice as long, just to give your spine a moment to relax and to release. Coming now into our second set, bridge or wheel. Starting by finding that really strong root of the feet right below the hips, before lifting the hips up and interlacing fingers at the low back, chin to chest. Lift up, press up, reach up, finding your deepest expression of the pose, and then slowly lowering down one section of your spine at a time. Heels come to the outer edges of your mat, knees fall together. It's another nice way to neutralize your spine. Steadying your breath, slowing things down, deepening. And final set, lift up, reach up, breathe up. Make this one your challenge set. Something that you are working on. Maybe it's one leg at a time that you're lifting off of the earth if you're in wheel. It's just getting a little more deeply into the pose. Maybe you're crawling the feet and hands closer together. Whatever it is, find your expression and slowly return to the earth when you're ready. Taking your time, being mindful, slowly returning to the earth, gently resting. Deep breath in and out. Any other final poses or movements that your body is asking for? If you still have your block nearby, maybe a legs up the wall. Maybe you're ready to come into Shavasana right away. Maybe you stay in your Shavasana today with your knees bent. In any case, this concludes our time of practicing together. I hope you found this flow helpful and informative. And as you enjoy this long, lengthened Shavasana, just give yourself a little bit of extra acknowledgement for taking the time to practice. Namaste.